Hey everybody, welcome back and welcome to another episode of the Peter Principles 10 Questions with the Musical Mind. I appreciate you tuning in. And once again, as you know, hopefully, you can also subscribe to our blog, The Peter Principles, which is peters-principles.com. In addition to the 10 Questions of the Musical Mind interview series, I also have lots of original articles where I present things that I can't possibly verify as fact. So, a lot of good information there. This week we are joined with Jacob Cade. This 20-year-old guitar player is really taking the world by storm, played a lot of great shows, amazing player, great singer, has got a ton of charisma and stage presence. You should see this guy. If you can't see him live or haven't seen him live yet, go to YouTube and check out his live performances. It's definitely worth it. The kid's a star in the making. He's also got a new album coming out with veteran, renowned producer Michael Wagner, who, if you need an introduction to him, he's done everything from Dokken to Accept to Metallica. I can't even name them all, but look him up if you don't know him. He's an ace producer. So obviously Jacob's excited about that, and that record is done. He's already released 2 singles off of it, and they're looking to release the rest of the album here soon. So tune in. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Jacob. He lets us in a lot of good info about how he writes, how he learned, what his main inspirations were coming up, and lots of stuff like that. So hope you enjoy it. Hey Jacob, how are you tonight?
I'm doing real good, Thanks for having me on, man.
Oh man, no, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. And I've been, listening to your stuff and just kind of been real impressed lately with like a lot of stuff. We'll go into it as we go, but one thing I wanted to start off asking you is like, what age did you start playing guitar?
So, playing seriously, like actually wanting to know about it, and I was like in it for real.
Right.
I was about 8 years old.
Okay, and how old are you now?
Yeah, I'm 20. Just turned 20
Just
not too
turned
long
20.
ago.
Okay, so you got a good 12 years under your belt.
Yeah, absolutely,
Awesome.
Absolutely, man.
Now,
Been doing
did you start singing around the same time, do you think, or was that later?
No, man. So singing, I didn't start singing till I want to say about 12 or something like that. Just because I wanted to be Jimmy Page.
Right.
I wanted to be just the guitar player, and that was it. And then I discovered ZZ Top and Billy Gibbons made me want to play and sing at the same time. It started with the song "Jesus Just Left Chicago."
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to learn how to sing and play that at the same time.
That's cool that you got into that older generation of stuff. I mean, that's pretty cool. And that's probably I don't know, but I didn't want to sing. I mean, I don't even play hardly anymore. But I was playing through high school and all that, and I played for years, and I'll still keep a guitar around to piddle around with, but it never occurred to me to sing when I'm playing. So by the time I ever tried it later on in life, I was like, I can't do this. Like my voice wanted to go like to the note I was playing. It was hard for me to keep the melodies separate in my head, that kind of thing. So it's not as easy as it looks sometimes. But that's cool. Now, did you ever take any lessons or anything, or like formal lessons?
No, just no lessons. I'm all self-taught, and I just learned by ear. Just would listen to the songs that I was into and tried to emulate them, or I watched videos of my favorite guitar players and just watched their fingers, and that's how I figured it out. Yeah,
that's cool. That's one thing, and I know you and I spoke briefly a few weeks ago in Nashville, but and you had a pretty good presentation. You're doing the symposium stuff, but
cool.
We were talking about I've talked to other musicians who are older, and one thing we commented on is the difference is we didn't have videos. Like there was no, I mean, I had like a Mel Bay book with like bar chords in it. Like I'm not learning Van Halen from that. Like you're not.
Yeah.
There's no way. Like so, if you don't, so sometimes it would jump out at me. Like I'd listen to a certain song and be like, okay, that's clearly a D and an A and an E. I can figure that out, but if it doesn't click, you're stuck with just messing around with things until you figure out what's right. And I think having video like YouTube, that kind of stuff, I mean, it had been a big help. I mean, a little bit. I mean, what your playing is incredible, and you have to have a certain amount of talent to get to where you are. But I mean, do you find it was a big help just being able to see what their fingers were doing and that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I was always super fascinated with, you know, the live show that
Yeah,
the bands would do, like, what people looked like when they were playing.
right.
The music sounded cool, but what really made me a fan was their image and the way they moved on stage and their look and how
Right.
cool they were. So I was always just drawn to the videos just because of that, and then through that I was always, just watching their fingers, like, oh, cool, that's how they play it. But actually, nowadays, if I'm like learning a tune or whatever, it's kind of, at that point where the guitar is like,
Yeah,
it's like a language to me that's
sure.
kind of just in my head,
Right. At this point,
so.
you're fluent
you
enough that you know pretty much when you hear something. I'm sure you know like pretty much where it is on the fretboard, and you can.
Yeah, and then yeah, exactly, and it just comes from playing for so many years, and you just kind of get used to it, and what. Oh, well, that's got to be, here, and that's a pull off, or that's a
Right.
hammer on, or who's doing that, and so on and so forth. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, I remember learning how to play when you first like I had this vague notion, like say Eddie Van Halen game was tapping, but I didn't really get like I'd see a video briefly, and at first when you're just learning how to play, I just thought his fingers were just kind of going like this, like crazy. And after a while, you
yeah,
sort of figure out like no, it's a note, a hammer on, a tap, a pull off, and you figure
yeah,
it's really just one. He's not just going like this. It's
it,
you
yeah,
start to then you can hear okay, it's these four notes, it's these four notes. And you start to pick out the patterns of it in your ear. It's like a language, right? You hear what's a slur, what's a bend, what's a unison bend, what's a that kind of thing. What's a finger vibrato versus the whammy bar and that kind of thing. But yeah,
yeah,
it just takes
exactly.
experience. Um, now your more recent record, you did that with producer Michael Wagner. And that's a big deal.
I
Um,
did, yes, yeah, super big deal, man. That was that's one of the coolest things I've ever done, and I'm very thankful that
yeah,
he was willing to do that. Willing to work with us.
that's huge. I mean, he's been behind some of the biggest records in rock.
Oh yeah.
And I know in an interview with him, he was saying that he really liked what he heard with you. How did you actually get that first initial contact with him? Like, how did you set up the meeting to go there, and like, how was that first set up?
So I actually met him through a guy named Johnny Dwinell, who is he runs Daredevil Productions over
Mm-hmm.
in Nashville,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, I know Michael Wagner, and something happened where he showed him like a video of us, a video of me, and Michael was like, "Hey, well, I want to do a record with him,"
That's
and
awesome. Yeah.
that's
And
how
he's
it
got that
worked.
studio
Yeah.
right outside of Nashville. Yeah. So Michael does.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you did it there.
It's almost like it's in the middle of nowhere,
Right.
but like you drive 5 minutes and you're in the city. It's pretty
Right. But
cool.
it's like he's got like the land. It's kind of like a, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The Now, one thing that probably helped with that is your stage performance is great. I mean, and talk about going back to the visual thing. That's one of the things that's always been pertinent to rock and so exciting about it. Like you really seem to get a certain amount of the outrageousness and the flamboyant, stage persona is what helps propel the music. It makes a live show exciting. I mean, you obviously get that. I mean, was that hard to get into? I mean, was there stage fright involved at first when you were younger?
Um, so I mean, the whole stage presence thing came from even earlier, before I even learned how to play the guitar. I was a huge Michael Jackson fan.
Yeah,
Watching him, he's like the greatest performer that ever lived, I think.
yeah,
So that's where I kind of got my I want to be a performer,
sure.
like that mentality. Before I didn't even know what I wanted to do. It was just like, yeah, I want to perform in front of people. That's fun.
Yeah,
I love the limelight, and that's cool. It was just cool to me. And so then I from there, I started like learning how to dance and everything, and trying to put on shows for my family. I remember like every time my sisters would, I have sisters that are quite a bit older than me, so they
Okay.
would bring over their boyfriends or bring over, their girlfriends or something like that, and I would be like, hey, let me play a show for you guys, and I would just put on a Michael Jackson song, a little boombox, and just like do a dance.
Right.
It was kind of cool.
Well, there's
But
there's
yeah,
certain
man. So
there's a
I've
certain
always
element you
been.
can't make somebody an extrovert. Like you've got to just have that or not.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm very extroverted when if there's a stage, it comes out of me. I don't know. Paul Taylor said he put it in perfect words when we were in Nashville doing the expo. He was like, "Yeah, man, you get on stage and you kind of like transform or like transport to another world or something." And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess so. It's pretty cool."
Yeah,
So
and he's been
yeah,
on some
man.
pretty big stages too. So yeah, Paul Taylor,
Oh
he
yeah,
yeah he would know.
with Alice and Alice Cooper and Winger and
Yeah, definitely.
Tom Keeper,
Yeah,
everybody, man.
everybody. The and talk about that. I'm going to skip ahead, but speaking about writing songs, you wrote songs for this latest batch with Paul Taylor, Lizzie Hale, Rachel Bolan from Skid Row.
Mhm.
Was there? I mean, they've been around. They've got a ton of experience, and you've been doing this for a while too. But was there anything that when they were, writing songs with them that you were like, "Oh, that's cool. I wouldn't have thought to do that," or they showed you something that just wouldn't have occurred to you to begin with on your own?
Oh yeah, of course. Every mind works differently.
Sure.
Especially in a creative mindset.
Right.
So of course there was like the way that Joe Hottinger would play a riff, or the way like
Right.
he would put together a piece of music, with a bridge here and a chorus here, or
Right.
mixing them around, something like that.
And you and Joe and
It's all
Lizzie wrote
comes from feel.
Icky Nicky
Huh,
together,
what was
right?
that?
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. You and Joe and Lizzie Hale wrote Icky Nicky together, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, but to answer your question, absolutely, I learned so much from them, and it was really cool because it wasn't just a learning experience. It was also, just like me putting forth my creative thing, and them also being like, "Oh, that's cool too." It was they were very open to what I had to
Sure.
say as well, which was super awesome.
Well, the thing
You
is, I
know,
mean, they're artists too, and it's got to be cool on that level to work with them as peers,
yeah,
and where
exactly.
they're going, yeah, I like that idea, and you're going back and forth. It's not like a tutor thing. It's two artists or three artists getting together and sharing ideas, which has got to be so gratifying.
It definitely was. Yeah, and people often misconceive, artists that are of a larger caliber to be, I don't know, super kind of strict with writing songs or whatever. But honestly, it's just, yeah, let's get together at this time. We'll bring the instruments out and just hang out, and we'll see
Right.
if we can write a song. It's very, very lax, and it's just rock and roll. It's just
Yeah, it's
kind of just happen the way they happen, and just that's where the best magic comes from.
sure.
Just
I've
letting
talked to
things do what they do.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of musicians, and I can't think of one that says I go into my music room at this time and I go into creative mode and start. Life doesn't work that
Yeah,
way. I mean,
no, absolutely, yeah. And there's a saying that was going around, that I use a lot, and Lizzie taught it to me. Is, yeah, I mean, I'm just throwing shit against the wall here, like
right,
like the monkeys at the zoo. I'm
right,
just throwing it against the wall. If it sticks, it's cool. If it
right,
doesn't, we'll move on.
exactly.
Yeah, man.
Um, Now, can you think of a song either recent or in the past that was really difficult for you to write and maybe just got stuck for months or weeks, whatever, and at some point there was like a breakthrough and you finally got it done? I mean, is there anything you can think of like
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Well, actually, there's one on the latest record,
Hmm.
Lily Ann. I've had that riff in my head for it was like going on like 3 or 4 years. It's just
Really?
like this riff I used to use it like just to warm up, or just I just like would play it. And I remember when um, Brent Fitz, Slash's drummer, when I figured out he was gonna when we figured out he was gonna play on the record, I
Right.
pulled that riff out and I was like, this would sound cool, with his feel.
Right.
And so I kind of wrote it around like a almost Guns N' Roses Night Train type
Sure.
of deal. So it's one of those things where you have to kind of evolve, like evolve with riffs and really cool. And then when it's a perfect situation, it comes out naturally and it's great.
Yeah, it could be even as simple as just his particular groove that day, and the sound of the snare sounded right, and you're like, oh wait, I know. And it's funny how
Yeah.
it could be the smallest little thing.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
that's cool. Now, one thing I really like about your latest album, are you still sticking to the plan of just releasing it as singles?
Yeah, I think that's what we're doing for the most part. We've got two out. There's What's Your Problem and Icky Nicky.
Right.
And so we're looking to release. I think at least two more singles, and then I think we're actually gonna put out a full album at some point pretty soon. That's what we're kind of thinking of at this point. There's been talk about getting artwork done and
Right.
doing the whole thing. So yeah, I'm stoked. I'm stoked for everyone to hear the new stuff.
Oh yeah, I bet. But I like the idea though, because I'm sure you're stoked to get the whole album out, and I'll be looking forward to hearing all of it. But I've always argued, not always, the last few years I've wondered why, like, the older established bands who complain and say like, well, there's no point in making an album because nobody listens and they want to hear our stuff from the 80s, and they are right to a certain extent. Like, you put all this time in an album and you release it, and then people just stream it for free or watch it on YouTube, and they don't buy the physical album anymore, and it's legitimate. I've wondered why not just go into the studio if you're a legacy band or whatever, and just go out and twice a year put out a new song on your on your website, and and then that way you can go on tour every year and you have one or two new tracks to add to your set list.
Yeah, that's a smart idea, man. But I think to answer your question that you're saying, like, why not do it? I think a lot of those bands are stuck in the
sure.
Let's make an album, man.
Oh, totally.
And also I think it also kind of goes with like the cycle of touring bands and how it works. You go on tour to make a record, or vice versa. You make a record to go on tour.
Right.
So, but I mean, like you're saying, those big bands, like I guess you could say Guns N' Roses or Def Leppard. Those types of bands. They could very well just put out a song once every year, and then just do their tour of all the songs that the people want to hear. Because when you get to that point, it's sad to say, but a lot of fans don't really care about oh, they're playing the new song. They're like, let's hear Pour Some Sugar on Me, or let's hear Paradise City.
Right. And that is sad, but I mean, there's always going to be diehards who want to hear everything and want to hear the new stuff. But yeah, there's that 80% that are there from Paradise City and Mr. Brownstone. But
of course.
But I do think it would be a good thing, because just for the artist validity, like, it's got to get old to just go out and be just, I'm playing my greatest hits year after year.
Yeah.
Like, that way you could just be like, hey, at least I've got one new song to add to the set list this year. And then, but I don't know. I don't know why they don't do more. Maybe in the future they will. But now, when you're writing lyrics, does that come easy for you, or is it hard? I mean, versus the guitar playing.
It's bands in a wide variety. Sometimes they come out like clockwork, and sometimes it's like, man, what am I trying to say here? It's like a puzzle piece. Every song is like a puzzle. With putting the right words together to have a cool melody.
Right.
Because melody is everything.
Yeah.
Melody is really what makes a song, you know. And then of course on top of that, you want to have something to say. So it's just a big puzzle like that you can't see, but it's in your head, and you just need to like figure out how to put the pieces together. And there's some I heard from someone in Nashville. They said that David Bowie, he used to like write a song, and he would print out the words. He would print out the lyric sheet, and then he would cut each singular word and just mix it all around and put it back together as an actual puzzle. So that's like a physical representation of what goes on in us artists' minds
That's
when we're
awesome.
writing the lyrics, you know.
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
Um,
That's cool.
but yeah, no, it's like, and it's like, I don't know. Same with music, same with guitar riffs and solos, and you know, like, you know, same as writing a paper for school. Sometimes it just kind of just flows out of you, and sometimes you gotta work a little bit harder at it. But
Right.
yeah, it just spans a wide variety.
Do you tend to draw from like personal experiences, or do you draw from like, you know, I really like this movie I saw the other day and it set a cool vibe and I kind of want to write something in this vein, or like do you draw from all
Yeah,
different things, or
I try to draw from all things that I kind of, you know, experience and feel like I have a grasp on myself.
yeah,
So I'm not trying to, you know, write something that I don't understand about. You know, I try to write about things that I've actually gone through,
makes
and
sense.
or I've also done lots of things where I'll kind of make up a story in my mind or something, and
Sure.
then just write about that fictional type thing. You know, also write about dreams that you have. I've done that before. You absolutely get influenced by a movie that you watch, or you get influenced by even another song that you hear.
Sure.
And you're like, I want to do something like that. Like that's kind of cool. How do they, you know, that feel or whatnot, that sort of bouncy melody, or oh man, he's keeping it straight there, that's kind of cool, or oh, this song is just like all one riff and then just different vocal
Right.
interpretations. So it's just like everything and anything that says something, or that is, you know, interests you, can be some sort of inspiration.
Sure, that's cool. I mean, it's kind of neat how sometimes you'd be like, "Oh, I totally want to cop this feel and this kind of vibe in this song," and you can try to not mimic it, but you try to like, you know, maybe mimic that feeling, and what you write ends up sounding nothing like that. But it was still the inspiration, which is cool because like you were going after this, and but your piece sounds nothing like what you were inspired by, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, in your mind, you're like, oh yeah, that sounds like this.
Right.
But to other people,
Totally different.
it's yeah, it's pretty crazy how that works, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome though. Yeah, now talking about being like liking the frontman and stuff, and I know you mentioned ZZ Top and all that. Who are some other people who really inspired you as far as like stage presence, like frontmen or guitar players, just as performers? And it's probably
Oh,
musicians you like their music too, but like who do you just like love on stage, just their visuals or their
yeah,
moves or
cool. Yeah. As far as image is concerned, I think that Slash has the coolest image, like,
sure.
known to man, with the top hat and the hair, the face. You don't even know what he looks like.
Yeah.
Like people didn't even know what his face looked like for the longest time.
Right.
I just thought that was so cool, and it's so undeniable. You know, once
Right.
you see his like even silhouette,
Right.
it's just, oh, that's Slash, and
Oh,
it's
try
cool.
being. I mean, if you're my age, I bought that album when it came out, and there was no internet, so all I saw was the pictures with the top hat and the hair down. We really didn't know what it looked like. It was just,
Yep,
which is cool as hell,
exactly.
you know. It was cool, but
He's not real. It was like, this guy's not real. He's like a robot. How do you even play like that? It's
right. And the
insane.
cool thing with that is you don't envision when you see Slash as a rock star or a player on stage, like it's hard to envision him making a ham sandwich
Yeah,
or
yeah,
doing boring
absolutely.
things like, oh, I'm gonna run down to the bank and or I gotta go to the grocery store and advise like you don't
Yeah,
envision him doing daily activities. He's just that guy in front of a stack of
it's
Marshalls.
Slash.
Right.
Yeah, he's always playing on stage somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
exactly. Yeah.
Uh, I guess another person that I would say is Steven Tyler,
Yeah.
really big influence of mine.
Sure.
Just amazing. I actually got to meet him.
Did
You
you?
were saying it's hard to imagine people just like that being in normal life. I actually ran into him at the movie theater in Nashville, and
Funny.
so it's kind of cool seeing him just not being Steven Tyler for a second, just being
Right.
a guy that wants to go watch King Kong.
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome. It's kind of funny to, and it's I won't go into the story, but I had a similar situation in a non-musical setting. I met Stevie Ray Vaughan when I was a
oh
teenager,
wow.
and yeah, same thing. I had a quick conversation with him. It was just really cool just to talk to him. Not it wasn't behind stage or anything. It was just
Yeah.
it's cool. But anyway, go ahead.
No, yeah, that's so awesome. Congrats.
Oh yeah,
That's really cool. I'm jealous, man. But yeah, some other people, as I said, Michael Jackson.
sure.
I really love Justin Timberlake,
Yeah.
and I really love Bruno Mars. I think
Hmm.
those guys have the most killer shows
It's
ever,
almost, and
man.
even Bruno Mars, just there's almost like an intangible star quality.
Yeah,
With Michael Jackson, it was very obvious that he was a star. He just had it. I mean, and same thing with Prince and guys like that. I mean, Bruno Mars is not as flamboyant about it, but he's just got like that it factor. It's
yeah,
besides the fact the
yes.
music's good, but
Oh no, absolutely he does. And I love now he's kind of like on stage. He kind of wears just he wears sweatpants and like a baseball jersey or something,
right,
and a baseball hat. I just think that's so cool, man. That they just go out and rock with their sneakers on
right,
and do whatever they want. It seems like, and I think that comes from like people love individuality, and people
sure,
love when people do things that no one else is doing, and no one else does shows like Justin Timberlake or Bruno Mars or Michael Jackson or even Aerosmith. Like everyone that has something that separates them from everybody else is
right,
gonna be wanted.
right.
It's super cool.
And one thing is a good point about that is, and I'm not meaning this in a derogatory way in the slightest, but you take how important the cool factor is and the persona. Two of the best frontmen of all time, Mick Jagger and Steven Tyler, they're not opera singers,
Yeah.
but it was
No,
their voice was good enough and they conveyed a message and it was effective and it was just they were just
mhm.
cool and it was totally convincing and totally authentic is the best way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. Authentic would probably be it probably hits it right on the nail there. Um, yeah, Mick Jagger. I was talking to Michael Wagner about this type of thing, talking about Mick Jagger and David Lee Roth and Steven Tyler, of course. It's like those guys aren't really singers; they're performers.
Right,
Like they're performing with their voice. It's
right,
not like they're great singers. I mean, they're very very
sure,
talented, but they're not.
right.
It's hard to explain.
David Lee
It's
Roth
it's like
could sing the first several years, but he's obviously anyway, but he's such a great frontman, and he actually didn't. He auditioned for Van Halen a couple times, and Eddie and Alex turned him down. You may know that,
yeah,
um,
it's crazy.
but they probably wouldn't have gotten near as far without him because he was just one of a kind. And
Yeah, well, he does the backflips and
right,
the leg kicks. He's like a gymnast on stage, and
you
then
need to
he's
work on
like,
the split off the drum riser. It's that's your
yes, yeah. Well, I mean, you see like the cover
you
of a
do the
lot of
jumps and
the
stuff.
Van
Yeah,
Halen records, and he's just like bent over, like backwards in
yeah.
a U shape, and like doing some crazy gymnastics thing. Yeah, it's all about the look and the cool factor,
Oh
and
yeah,
especially back then, when people bought records
sure.
actually, and they looked at the sleeve and read the lyrics and
Right.
were into, oh, what do these guys look like? That
No,
was just
I'm telling you. I mean,
golden.
I've seen David Lee Roth live back in the '80s, and you talk about somebody who owns a stage. Like there was no question when you went to a show back then. Like he owned that stage. He owned the audience. There was all eyes on him. I mean, he just commanded every bit of it. Um, the now has your gear stayed kind of the same over the years. I mean, obviously you like the Les Pauls, and you've got great tone out of them. By the way, they're not
Oh,
muddy.
thank you,
They're
man.
just crunchy. It's perfect. It's like distorted, but it's still like tight and focused. Is the best way I can put it. It's just you got a good tone out of
All
it.
right. Thank you very much, man. Yeah, the trick is not too much gain.
Oh,
I'll
there
tell
you
you
go.
that much.
I used
I
to joke.
learned
I used
that.
to have a Les Paul that I didn't like it as much as my Ibanez, but a Les Paul used to joke that like it's got two sounds, off and Black Sabbath. But
Yeah, right on.
but that's not true. Though it's like, but yeah. But have you kept pretty consistent with that? I mean, do you stick mostly to Les
Yeah.
Pauls, or do you
Oh,
experiment
yeah,
around?
yeah.
Or
As far as I've been now, I've been playing Les Pauls the whole time. Every once in a while, I'll switch it up on stage. Sometimes I'll bring up a I have this Ibanez Explorer. It's
Mhm.
the Gibson. It's the lawsuit
Yeah,
thing. And then I have sometimes a double neck on stage. Just it depends on what songs we're playing, but I mostly stick to the Les Paul. And then as far as amps go, um, when I get to choose what I'm using, right now it's a Marshall DSL 100,
hmm,
and just that I play it through a wah. I use the slash wah,
yeah.
and from the wah, I just got this new pedal. It's a vocal harmonizer thing. So like when you click it, it kind of like harmonizes what you're singing. So
Oh,
it's I can do it like kind of a cool effect sometimes, and then
that's pretty cool.
it goes from that into my wireless pack slash tuner. So essentially, the only thing I'm running effects wise for my guitar is the wah pedal. Everything else is just bare bones Marshall to Les Paul.
So you're not using any kind of noise gate or anything, or
No, 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 man, not really. I will probably have to start looking into stuff like that because when you get to bigger stages and whatnot, sometimes when you're going all around, sometimes some plug-in in the back doesn't
right?
shorts or
So you're
something
not
weird
using
happens.
any
But
like reverb or anything.
no reverb. I've always been very like against reverb and against delay and against everything. I'm a stickler for like
Purity
just
or
guitar
yeah,
amplifier. Let's go.
I
Like
can
if
see
you
that
can,
it can be a and you know this, but it can be a like a slippery slope. I guess what I'm trying to say, like I found playing you tend to be like wanting it like oh this it sounds better with the echo on or the reverb all the time, and you just end up
yeah.
overdoing it and that kind of thing. So yeah, you're probably better off. But
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
your
I
tone's
feel
great.
like I feel like a lot of times people like to put the verb on and delays or whatnot because it's easier to play the guitar. It's easier to play a solo with reverb or a slapback delay. But you know, Jimmy Page never did that, man.
Right,
Slash doesn't do that. It's all right here in the
right,
hands, man. You can use these fingers to make the guitar do whatever you want without any sort of help from anything else.
right.
It's
And when Jimmy Page
you
did use
make
an effect, like
better
he
player.
used like the Leslie, like the rotating speaker or whatever, um,
There you go. Yeah,
it
Jimmy
made
Page used that.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. When he would use something like that, it would be more effective because he wasn't constantly using tons of effects.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, he used to do the whole theremin thing
Yeah,
in a whole lot of love. Like, I mean, he did use effects and whatnot, but like you said, he wasn't using it every single solo or every single riff. It was just kind of like that. Oh wow, he's doing that now. That's cool.
right.
But
And it
yeah,
makes it
I
way
get
more
it.
impactful when you hit something once or twice a show. And
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
talking to
It's
another
like
guitar player recently about this effect that we both had used, and I won't go in, but it was like so blatant of an effect. It was just like, oh Jesus, like what is that? Just such an obvious effect. I was like, it's the kind of thing where you can only use it like once. Like
yeah.
you couldn't even use it like two albums later because it'd just be like, oh, there's that effect again. It was just like one of those like
Hmm.
smacks you in the face effects, and so
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, man. No, I try to stay away from as many effects as possible.
that's
Unless I mean
cool.
in the studio sometimes in the studio you can get carried away with, playing with different things,
Right.
but I just like to keep it simple for the
No, and
most
that's
part.
awesome. And you've got a great tone on it, and it's like I said, it comes from your fingers, and that way, if when you're playing bigger and bigger shows, you're not just stuck because like, oh, I don't have my rack effect is down, I can't play. Like the less you're tied down by effects, the more you can be like, let's just plug in and go.
Exactly, man. And a lot of times I don't really get to choose what rig I'm using at this point in my career
So you get like
when I'm doing fly gigs. So it's like I got to be able to play with whatever they give me. If it doesn't gain up, if it doesn't have a delay loop or if it doesn't have whatever, I got to be able to play through it. So
right,
yeah.
Oh, there's no gain on this. I guess I'm picking harder for the solo, or
yeah, we're just turn the amp up and tell the sound guy, hey, I got to get this thing to crunch a little bit. I remember we played a show in Cleveland one time and they gave me like an amplifier. It was one of those little lunchbox amps, and I was just like, "Hey man, I'm just gonna crank this thing." There was no gain. There was no gain knob on there, so I was just like, "I'm gonna crank this thing," and I think I had like a little distortion pedal or something that I brought with me, and I just plugged that in, and I was like, "We're getting it."
Right? Yeah, it's awesome. I just saw. I don't even know if he had changed out what was in the housing, but I'm not kidding. I just was backstage at a Kip Winger show the other day and spoke to him. I was up on stage earlier, and he had one pedal. Now this is for his acoustic show, obviously, but he had a compression pedal, and that's what he had.
Yeah,
and it was a little like Digitech or DoD like $99 pedal, and he'd put a Sharpie through the compression. So I don't know if he had some kind of other effect in there, but like he didn't have 5 pedals in front of him. He had a $99 pedal, and he's like, and he's joking with the sound guy. It was like the house sound guy, wasn't his guy. He's like, okay, and he plays for him. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go eat some dinner. When I come back, this better sound like magic. Like just messing with the guy. But it was pretty funny. Man. But yeah, he didn't have a ton of stuff. He was just, and it sounded great.
Yeah, it's really not. It's a preconceived notion that the more pedals you have, the cooler of a guitar player you are. But I mean, unless you're the Edge from U2, it's not really the case.
And he's legitimate. He's built a sound on that. Yeah, but
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think him and Tom Morello have kind of got their own little thing,
and it's right,
and that's cool.
And it is cool because that's who they are. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And
so but I mean, there's a fine line, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy who's just. We're both saying the same thing. You don't want it to be a crutch.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
So that's been awesome. I know you're. So I was going to ask you what you're planning on in the near future, but obviously you're planning on at some point releasing the full album. You're hoping and getting the artwork.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Playing a lot of gigs now. Very soon, huh? Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have to let me know about that.
Absolutely, we'll do.
I'll be sure to plug it on my site and all that kind of stuff. But it's been great talking to you, man. It's I appreciate I mean, I knew you were a good player and I liked your stuff, but getting to sit down with you and chat for a while, you got your head on straight. The music's good. You got a good outlook on stuff. I like it. It's all good stuff. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, man. I appreciate you having me on, man.
No
Anytime.
problem. My pleasure. Absolutely, yeah. All right. Well, we'll stay in touch and let me know when that album gets ready to hit.
Cool. Sounds good. I will definitely do that. Thank you so much again, man. Hey, have a good night.
Thanks, Jacob. You too.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.